Hello, and welcome to the MMA Mic Drop Podcast. My name is Jade Bunky, and I am joined by the one and only Milo McGregor, who is not only one of the nation's top up-and-coming amateur surfers, but also an emerging MMA analyst. In today's episode, we are going to break down everything that's about to go down at UFC 303. Prochazka versus Pereira 2. What a matchup this is. It replaces the Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler matchup. And Milo, let me start with you. Do you like this matchup better? Are you more excited on this card, or would you have preferred to see Michael Chandler versus Conor McGregor? That's my first question. And my second question is, what would be your overall grade in this for this fight card?
I wouldn't say it's either better or worse. I think it's just different. I think the level of competition is higher, but it's really nothing like a McGregor card. So I think I'd rather have the McGregor card, but I think this matchup could be more interesting to see it again because the last one was stopped a little bit early. But yeah. And overall, I'd probably give it an A+ still.
Really? So you're still fired up on this even without Conor McGregor, and that's awesome. Yeah. And I think it's a testament to, really the UFC matchmakers, what they really did, to pull the strings at the last minute to really bring together such a high level fight. Jiri Prochazka versus Alex Pereira too. Both fought at UFC 300. It's a pretty quick turnaround, but it's extremely high level. I'm more excited about this fight card. I think it's a sneaky good fight card. I'd still give it a B+ as opposed to going into the A range, and I'll get into that as we go to the fight by fight breakdown. So let's start with our picks and predictions right away. Who do you got in the main event and why?
For Pereira versus Prochazka, the last one was stopped early, but I still think Alex Pereira was winning the fight, and then he almost finished him. I wouldn't count it as a finish really, because it was kind of cheap. I think the fight could have gone longer. It just shows that his striking is still on another level, and he's probably more powerful than him too.
I do agree that he's more powerful, but it looked like Jiri had his moments, in the first round.
Yeah.
And I'd really have to go back and look at the scorecards because I don't remember exactly how that was scored before the stoppage or who was winning. But I remember Jiri was having some moments as well. But you think it's Pereira's power that's going to neutralize Jiri again?
Yeah, I think Jiri raised his hands really low, and that's what happened. He ducked in, had to throw it head first, and then he got just caught. So he gave punched in the face.
So what round?
I think 5th round.
5th round. So you think it's going to go for a while?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like what you're saying in that, one of the dangers for Jiri is he keeps his hands a little low. He keeps his head up. He's really hittable. And that's a problem with Alex Pereira because when you look at Pereira, he's really represents the confluence of precision, power, and technique, right? I mean, he's got such a high level of technical acumen as an elite level kickboxer. He doesn't have many tells when he, particularly on his leg kicks. We saw that with Adesanya. He just seems to throw at the right time with power and precision. And he's the hardest hitter in the light heavyweight division. But Jiri, I think, particularly now that Pereira's advancing in age, he's getting past that point. I believe he's 36, 37 now. He's probably slowing down a little bit, even though we just saw him fight recently. I think Jiri's going to have the speed advantage, where I think Pereira is going to have the power advantage and the precision advantage. But Jiri hits hard too, and I have flip-flopped on this particular pick. I've gone back and forth. There's times when I think Jiri's going to get it done. There's times when I think Pereira is going to get it done. But I think because Jiri leaves himself exposed too much, I think it's going to be a 3rd round TKO by Alex Pereira. I think Jiri's going to have some moments early in the fight, but give me Alex Pereira by 3rd round TKO. All right, next up, we have a bonus fight that wasn't even scheduled after Conor McGregor dropped out. The UFC added Diego Lopes versus Brian Ortega. Milo, tell me about this fight.
I think this is one of the fights I'm the most interested in. I think this fight's going to be really good because Ortega tends to catch people, which is easy stuff, and they're both really good in jiu-jitsu, but I think Diego's just gonna overpower him and beat him up, and then hopefully he won't get caught, but it could happen. I think I'm gonna go Diego Lopes by first round TKO.
Diego Lopes. We're still calling him Diego Lopes from that first time
Yeah,
ESPN called him Diego Lopes. I know it took me a while to bring it back
it
to
says
Lopez.
it says in his name, like how's it Lopez?
Yeah, there you
Yeah.
go. No, so I love this matchup, and I think this is what really makes this fight better than the McGregor card because it's not only that you get a higher main event fight, and I was really excited to watch Jamahal Hill fight in the co-main event, but I thought Khalil Roundtree might have been a step too far down for him, even though Khalil Roundtree has crazy power and is fun to watch. I think this is just a much more exciting fight, and I think um, Diego Lopez is a superstar, and I think in this matchup, you nailed it. They're both really good at jiu-jitsu, but I think what separates is that power and athleticism of Diego Lopez, because when you watch Brian Ortega fights, he's really an opportunist, right? He gets beat, and then he catches you in a sub. Well, what happens when he goes against a grappler who's who's as good as him on the ground? Maybe better. I don't know, but it was definitely better than him on the feet. Who's more athletic, more explosive, and I think this is going to be another showcase fight for Diego Lopez. Give me Diego Lopez second round submission. All right. Next up, we have Anthony Smith versus Roman Dolidze. Now, this is another fight that was recently added. Originally, we were going to have Carlos Ulberg was going to fight Jamahal Hill. Then, when Jamahal Hill went out, we had Anthony Smith versus Ulberg. Now, Ulberg went out, and we have Anthony Smith versus Dolidze. So it is kind of a bonus fight. I do wish it was Ulberg because it would have been really good to see somebody on such a big card to have a shot at stardom, winning against a highly ranked guy in the featured bout. This is a tricky fight. I think both these guys are past their prime. They're both good. I think Dolidze has some really good jiu-jitsu, but he's also has some can hit really hard as well. He did drop down to middleweight. He is coming back up. Anthony Smith, though, is that tricky vet. And we saw with Victor Petrino, you do something stupid, he will make you pay. I am going to go with, I've been back and forth on this one. This is a tough one to pick. I'm going to go with Dolidze by decision. Milo, who do you have?
Like you said, they're both out of their prime, but I think Anthony Smith is gonna beat him by third round submission.
Yeah, he's so sneaky, and it's amazing how many subs Anthony Smith has on his record. And he's like the phoenix rising from the ashes. It seems like every time his career's seems like it's done, he goes on a little bit of a run. So it would be interesting to see if he can get a win here. All right, fourth from the top, Mara Buena Silva versus Macy Chiasson. This is one of the reasons why I brought this fight card down to a B plus. I think what would have been more appropriate here would have been women's flyweight or women's strawweight. There's so many good matchups in those divisions. In women's bantamweight, there's just not a lot of good matchups, particularly once you get outside of Kayla Harrison or unless Amanda Nunes makes a return. Really don't want to see any of those fights on the main card. So I'm not exactly too excited about this particular fight. I am going to go with Silva. She has a lot more subs on her record. I think she's a little craftier on the ground. I think it's a good matchup. I just don't think it's pay-per-view quality, a pay-per-view quality matchup. But give me Silva by third round submission. Milo, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think Bueno Silva by third round submission.
Yeah, and what you were saying before this, you were mentioning earlier before we went on, is that Chiasson, she's been alternating wins and losses, where Buena Silva, outside of her last loss to Pennington, was on a little bit of a run as well. So I think you do need to take that into consideration.
Yeah,
All right, this fight I think is the fight of the night. Ian Garry
agree.
versus Michael Venom Page. Milo, what are your thoughts?
This is going to be a really good fight. I think whoever wins this fight should probably get the next title shot, or maybe have one more fight to the next title shot.
I think you're right. Yeah. Who do you have winning and why?
I think Michael Venom Page. He's getting I don't know. He's really good. But I could see I could see Ian catching him, but I think he's gonna maybe just piece him up and win by decision.
Michael Venom Page by decision or Ian Garry?
Yeah, Michael Benefit.
Yeah, I think this is the most exciting matchup on the card. I mean, we're going to find out who's really, where each one of these guys are, right? Ian Garry, I watched him and I was pretty close to the action at UFC 298, and there was a couple takeaways that I found interesting. Number one, he's a lot faster than I thought when I saw him, in person. And the other thing that he does is he blends his kicks and punches with a level of fluidity that surprised me. He looked good against Jeff Neal, who was tough as nails, even though he, eked out a split decision on that. He's moving up the rankings. We're going to find out is this his ceiling, top five? Is he a 10 through 5 ranked guy, or can he break into the top 5? And if he wins, then you maybe get a title eliminator between him and Shavkat, or maybe you match him up against JDM next or something. But he's 1 or 2 fights away from a title if he wins. Bring over you look at Michael Venom Page, though, elite level striker. We saw what he did to Kevin Holland, and Kevin Holland is good. He's good on the feet, and Michael Venom Page was just on a different level. Now, given his age, this is the thing that always concerns me about older fighters. It's number one, their speed, and number 2, their chin. But when we watched him against Kevin Holland, he still has this elite level speed. And so you have to take that into consideration, not just his age, but how he looked in his last fight. I really don't know. And I don't know if Ian Garry's going to break out some of the grappling, and if that's going to neutralize Michael Venom Page at all. We haven't really seen him do much in the UFC, but we have seen Ian Garry get rocked before in the UFC. And Michael Venom Page is going to find an opening from time to time. This is a fascinating matchup. I'm really torn on this one, but give me Michael Venom Page by decision.
Yeah.
All right. Joe Pyfer versus Marc-Andre Barriault. Milo, what are your thoughts on this fight?
This is a very cheap fight. I think Marc-Andre is getting kind of too old. But I'm kind of torn. I think I'm gonna go Joe Pyfer by decision.
Yeah, and I'm with you on that. Marc-Andre Barriault, he is 34 years old. He is coming off a loss to Chris Curtis, though it was a close loss, or it was a close decision. I'm taking Joe Pyfer. I think Joe Pyfer is making improvements. He's getting better, and he hits harder. But my question to you is, I'm really concerned about the matchup and nicknames. This is an all-time bad nickname matchup. Marc-Andre Barriault, his nickname is Power Bar. Joe Pyfer's is Body Bag. Who wins in the battle of nicknames? Because I think they both suck.
I think Power Bar might be a little bit better.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, I would say Power Bar is much worse than Body Bags, but Body Bags is pretty bad.
No, in the competition, it's better.
Wait, what?
In the competition of worst nickname, I think
Yeah.
Power
you think Power
better.
Bar wins, meaning it's the worst?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I think might be one. It's one of the worst.
That's the worst nickname I think ever.
Yeah, he's in the running with. Go ahead.
Meatball. Is it some girl named Meatball?
Molly McCann, Meatball. I think that one's hilarious, actually.
Yeah.
I think Power Bar's in the running with probably what is it? Pantoja Cannibal. Which is kind of lame.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, this is an exciting fight. Cub Swanson versus Andrei Fili. Cub Swanson is an OG of the sport. I had an opportunity to sit down and chat with him for quite a while. He's a very thoughtful, introspective guy, and he's got something different than other fighters in him, and in a good way. And he's got this X factor. And, when he was in his prime, he was fast, he was athletic, he was explosive, and, he was elite. He's 40 years old, right? And I'm wondering if this is going to be his last fight. He's fighting Andrei Fili, who's an all-around good fighter, who's a tough fighter. He's 34 though. He's getting a little bit older as well. He should still have a slight speed advantage just based on the discrepancy of age, given the age. But I can't root against Cub Swanson. I think, he's going to get one more at 40. Give me Cub Swanson by split decision.
Yeah. This one's, I think it's going to be a really good fight. I think Andre Fili is a lot younger, and he's a really good gatekeeper for that division. And I think Andre is gonna third round TKO.
Wow. Okay. Think he's going to get it done. Yeah. Good. Really fun fight there. And then speaking of fun fights, this one will be more explosive. Charles Jourdain versus Gene Silva. I mean, Jourdain is good. He's exciting. He's flashy. And let me just look at a. I'm going to bring up his record real quickly. Or not his record. I want to look at a couple of his wins. I mean, he got outclassed by Sean Woodson, but I think that spoke more to how good Woodson is. He's kind of, he was on a 2-fight winning streak before that, but he lost to Nathaniel Wood and Shane Burgos before that. He's kind of been up and down, but he's exciting. Whereas Silva is a finisher. He doesn't have the same level of experience, but he's exciting as well. I think Charles Jourdain is going to get it done. Give me Charles Jourdain by third round TKO.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'm gonna go Charles Jourdain by second round TKO.
Awesome. All right, next up, Payton Talbott versus Giannis Gamori. I think Payton Talbott could be special. I mean, has elite level athleticism. He has good composure. He was almost too composed, and he kind of mentioned this in an interview that he did, before he was in the UFC, when he talked about, he might lose the first round, and we saw him struggle in the first round before, but not anymore. And I think he's fixed that. I think he's just going to come out more aggressive. He's fun to watch. I'm curious to see how far he goes. I think Gamori has some good kickboxing skills, but I think Talbot's going to be too much. Give me Talbot by second round TKO.
I'm gonna go Talbot by first round TKO.
Awesome. And where do you see his upside? Do you see title contender?
Actually, probably top 5.
Wow. Okay. So yeah, legit title contender. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
really high on him. I think he's legit. I'm excited to see how good he goes, how far he goes. But I think he's got the right mindset and everything, along with the right skill set.
Yeah.
Next up, Michelle Waterson-Gomez, the karate hottie versus Gillian Robertson. Michelle Waterson-Gomez, I think the only issue is her age right now. She's 37 years old. She's really light on her feet. She's got that karate stance. She has an incredible kicking game, but she's slowing down a little bit, which will come with age. I might have a different perspective on this fight if this happened, like 5 or 6 years ago. But I think Robertson is, she's really good on the ground. I think she's going to get her on the ground in each of the rounds. And I think by the third round, she's going to find a sub. Give me Robertson by third round submission.
I agree. I think I'm gonna go Robertson by decision.
Robertson by how and when?
Decision.
Okay. So next up, Andrei Arlovski versus Martin Buday. Now, Arlovski is old. He is 45 years old. I start questioning people when they get around 34, 35. What starts to slip. What has slipped with Arlovski is basically everything. It's amazing that he's even competing at this level. I mean, at 45 is just shocking, right? But he's just slowed down so much. You've seen he's taken so much damage over the years. I just don't think he has much of a shot against Martin Buday. Martin Buday is massive, 6'5", 265, probably has to cut a little bit of weight to even make that. And how I see this playing out, I think he's just going to march him down, jab, jab, jab. I think he's going to pick Arlovski apart for 3 rounds. I think he's going to push the pace, and I think it's going to be a TKO for Buday, and look for Arlovski to possibly retire in this fight in a big arena. What are your thoughts?
I agree. I think Martin Buday is gonna pick them apart and probably third round TKO.
Okay, yeah. I think it's just too much. I think he's just too old. But what an amazing career he has had. Ray Tsuruya, I probably butchered that name. I'm just going to call him Ray. Versus Carlos Hernandez. Ray's more off the road to the UFC, whereas Carlos Hernandez has already been in the UFC, had some mixed results. I'm going to take Ray. Give me Ray by decision. Haven't really watched too much of him, so I'm not too confident about that pick. Milo, what do you say?
I think I'm gonna go Ray by first round TKO.
Awesome. All right, and the fight that's going to opening the prelims, and this is a great fight to open the prelims. Ricky Simone versus Oliveira, Vincius Oliveira. Now Oliveira is 28. He's 20-3, and the thing that I'm looking at here, which is interesting, is he has 18 finishes, which is pretty crazy. And he has a finish in his first UFC fight. But Ricky Simone is one of the more underrated fighters in the UFC, I think. I'm going to take Ricky Simone by decision, but don't be surprised if Oliveira does something spectacular. But I am going to go with Simone by decision.
I think I'm gonna go Oliveira by third round knockout.
All right. Well, there you have it. Those are our picks and predictions, but go anywhere because we have two more segments, Kicking It with Milo and then Kook of the Week. Milo, in our Kicking It with Milo section, as many of you know, or as I mentioned in the intro, Milo is one of the best up-and-coming surfers in the United States on the amateur level. Milo, any big contests coming up?
Yeah, I have the NSSA nationals. It's like the end of the year competition where all like the best kids in America come together and then compete like the season to win. And yeah, that's like my last event for the year.
When is that?
That's next week.
Oh wow! So it's next week, and where's it at?
I think it's in Huntington.
Okay, I was hoping you would get Lowers, which is the best wave in Southern California, but Huntington, hopefully you get some swell. That should be fun. Good luck on that.
Thank you.
Yeah. So finally, we'll do Kook of the Week. I will go first with Kook of the Week. It's going to be Sergey Pavlovich. What's up with pushing your opponent after the fight? That was weak.
Yeah.
Really bad look. Not cool. He's my Kook of the Week. Milo, do you have a Kook of the Week?
I think I'm gonna have to give it to my dad. We were recording this before, and we were like probably a fourth through it, and my dad turns on the ice machine, and it makes a super loud noise. Not good.
Yeah, he made us start over, and he like didn't something break or something as well. And
yeah.
Yeah.
So something happened. I don't even know.
So your dad is the Kook of the Week. I think that's a well-deserved Kook of the Week. Before we go, any last word?
Drop the mic.
We're out.